What we're trying to do, Damien, is we're trying to make security a profession, not a job, not something that you walk into and you say, I want a paycheck and I want to go home, but an actual profession, a career. And so in doing that, we're putting people in positions where they need to be prepared to handle themselves properly. And so from a law enforcement standpoint, one thing that I can say I did not want this company to be about, and I know Alex felt the same way, was going to be a company that focused on, policies and, obviously we have our standard operating procedures and policies, all these things. But in the sense of, a lot of police departments are doing a lot of written trainings or questionnaires or things of this nature. And we both recognized that we wanted to be a scenario-based training company. There's no better way to learn than through scenarios, and then being able to break down those scenarios and go through. So I was an instructor when I was in law enforcement. I was also a field training officer. And so that was something that I utilized when I was training people, was saying, hey, we're going to do this, and we're going to break down the scenario before you ever get into this situation. Because I did not like the idea of, hey, let's throw you in the fire and just see if you make it out. That's just not the way to do things anymore. That may have worked back in the day, but it's not how things work now. And so basically, to answer your question, I want, when my people go out and do what they're doing, when my teammates do what they're doing, I want them to feel confident in what they're doing, because a lot of use of force, a lot of these things that are happening, they're caused because the people weren't prepared for what they were put in. And trust me, there's some situations you're not going to be prepared for that. I totally get that. But I'm going to do my damnedest to get every single one of my team members ready for that moment when they need to be exceptional, not good, exceptional. Because that's what we're being asked to do.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to another edition of the Security Guard Spotlight here on the Security Guard channel. I'm your boy, Atypical Security Guard. Today, we're talking to Reed Carr of Echelon Protective Services. Reed, what's going on, my man?
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. I'm glad I finally was able to pin you down, get you over here. You guys are doing a phenomenal thing here in Portland with everything that's going on with the defund movement, with the reimagining of police. You guys have gotten right in the middle of everything. You're making some great changes in one of the hardest hit areas downtown in terms of the homeless population. So just kind of introduce yourself and kind of tell everybody about your company and what you guys are doing.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, so I'm Reed. I'm one of the two owners of Echelon. I always say I am the least of the two owners, but definitely one of the two owners of Echelon. I came from a law enforcement background. I was a police officer out in Oklahoma. I did K-9. I held a federal commission and some other things like that, and really enjoyed my time in law enforcement. After putting in a few years and getting some really good experience in, my current business partner, Alex Stone, reached out to me and said he was starting a security company, and shared with me some of his ideas, and we kind of brainstormed, and I came down and came into Portland, Oregon. We started Echelon about 3 years ago. Echelon it's a really special thing, man. Basically, our goal is relationships. It's pretty simple. Life is a series and a patterns of relationships. If you can make a contact with somebody or make an interaction with somebody and make their life impactful in some way due to the fact that you have compassion for them, that you have passion, that you actually care, that you believe you can make a difference, right? So much in life, we're trying to convince other people to believe what we're trying to tell them. But if you believe it, that's the most convincing thing. And so I think being able to go into these downtrodden parts of the city and be able to just make those person-to-person contacts and make them positive, actually make a positive contact. That's the part that I love about this job. I had a lot of positive contacts in law enforcement, but I was always kind of naturally on the side of it was going to be negative, and I had to work really hard to make it positive. And
I think that, Reed, if I can interject for a second, I think that that's really the crux of the conflict that people have with policing in general. And you guys have taken a very forward approach in terms of how you are working with this community. So full transparency, I have done some work for Echelon. I've worked with Reed, with Alex and the other guys. And, I had heard about the philosophy, talking to you guys before being hired on with you. And it's one thing to hear it, it's another thing to see it. And so, this area, primarily where you guys are focusing, this is one of, like I said, the hardest hit areas here in Portland. And so many people, myself included, so many people are just absolutely, just, I don't want to say fed up is the word, but just frustrated with the situation. The issues with the homeless, the issues with the drug addicted, the mentally ill, and our lack of response from the community. And for you guys as an organization with security to kind of take this forward approach, I heard you guys talking about it, but seeing it in practice with you giving out, fresh tents and fresh linens, giving out food, making sure that people had, some of the just the bare essentials, and how that led to them being more compliant. Where did you guys come up with this idea of an approach in terms of working with this community?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it came out of the idea of, at least, and a lot of this I'll give credit to Alex with his chaplaincy background in the Army, but also it also came from things that you wish you could do in law enforcement that either A, you don't have the time. Oftentimes you're call to call, or B, it's just not a part of your your day-to-day service. Law enforcement does a lot of good things. They go out there and they hand things out. That's great. But our primary goal, which I've heard other people talk about on your channel, it's just it's we're there all the time. We actually get the opportunity to build that relationship. And so I think taking what hasn't worked in security and what hasn't worked in the realm of quote unquote first responders, and then looking at it and say, how can we make it work? How can we do a better job at this? Now, granted, it doesn't always work every time, and you know that just as well as I do. But the idea of saying, where did we go wrong in the past, and how can we do better? And basically just trying to reimagine the idea of safety for everyone. Oftentimes the analogy we use is when you're in a room and you don't know anybody, that room's intimidating. It always is. When you're in that same room and you know every single person, it's home, right? And so when other people from the outside looking in maybe see downtown Portland, they see there's a guy having a mental breakdown, or there's someone who's struggling from drug addiction. Whereas one of my guys or one of my gals will look at that and say, oh, hey, there's David, or hey, there's Mark. That's his tent over there. That's where he stays. I know Mark. I've made food for Mark. And so I think it's just the idea of why do we got to play this game? Why can't we get to know each other? And taking the time to do that. I'm frustrated. I totally understand. I grew up in this area. I love this city. I really do. It's absolutely in my blood. It always will be. But I think there's a better way. And so we're just trying our best to do that.
How has the reception been in terms of the community, the business owners, the people that are renting, apartments or have homes in those areas, with you guys running a company that is basically, truly a first response type company? People are contracting through you guys for individual properties, for consortiums, for apartment buildings and complexes, things like that. What's been the reception from the community, which right now is just, kind of been left on the defensive without a lot of resources for things like this? What's been their response?
Yeah, so you said the word fed up. I definitely think we have a community right now that doesn't have any answers, right? That is left kind of just with their hands out, saying, just would somebody even just listen to me, right? And so I think it's been really positive, because as much as maybe Portland has been hit with a stigma of maybe a negative attitude towards law enforcement, and I understand that, or a negative attitude towards security as a whole. And there is an element of that there, absolutely. But there's also a lot of people who are desperate right now. that really want to be helped, that really do want somebody to be there and have that positive interaction, that want to just be listened to, that want to be talked to. And so I think overall it's been extremely positive. I definitely think that, as in any situation, there's always room for improvement. But I would say the majority of what we're doing is positive, and that's what's been cool, is to see from clients. A lot of our clients, when we offer to do security work for them, or when we're speaking with them, there's a very high, I'm trying to look for the word, but basically there's a very high level of skepticism when we're speaking to them about our ability to accomplish something, our ability to give maybe a better livability to the area. And what's so cool is, again, like what I talked about earlier, I don't have to convince anybody of what we're trying to do. I've convinced myself. I've seen it time and time again. So it's just as simple as saying, this is who we are. This is what we do. This is what we're about. And so for our clients, it's been very positive. For the community within those clients, it's been extremely positive, because they feel finally like they have somebody that's listening to them, somebody that cares about them. And then, when it comes to the actual individuals that we're dealing with on the street, again, to have somebody that just doesn't walk up to them and say, hey, you're trespassed, get the heck out of here. But there's also another side of, I actually care about you. I'll come check on you. Where are you going? Where you stay at? I know you're having a tough time. Can I get you in a shelter? There's a better life, man. This is not the life. There's a better life. There is something different for you than living on the streets, I promise. And
I was just going to say that I feel like so much of what the underlying problems of this community is that they just don't feel like they're being seen. They don't feel like they're being heard. They don't feel like they matter anymore. And so, yeah, taking that approach, and, I've seen it firsthand how well you get that compliance from you guys taking that approach. Similarly to that topic, I want to talk about training. Here within Portland, over the last month and a half or so, 2 months, we did have an officer involved shooting, where an officer, took the life of someone, I believe in California this week, or maybe Indiana. I can't remember the state exactly, but there was an unarmed guard that shot a homeless person. Training for me is a big issue within the security realm, because unlike law enforcement, as we don't get that quarterly training, that monthly training. We don't have access to a lot of the funds that would allow us to train ourselves or train officers. Within your company, for the brief amount of time that I was with you guys were holding some training seminars for your staff. Kind of what has been the leading reason behind you guys taking, again, a forward approach of getting your officers trained, and how do you see training being a part of your company?
So, this is why I love this channel. This is why I love what you're trying to do, because I see the heart behind what you're trying to do. I've watched a lot of your videos. Shameless plug right there. There you go, buddy. But in all seriousness, though, I have watched your videos. I know what you're trying to do. What we're trying to do, Damien, is we're trying to make security a profession, not a job, not something that you walk into and you say, I want a paycheck and I want to go home, but an actual profession, a career. And so in doing that, we're putting people in positions where they need to be prepared to handle themselves properly. And so from a law enforcement standpoint, one thing that I can say I did not want this company to be about, and I know Alex felt the same way, was going to be a company that focused on, policies and, obviously we have our standard operating procedures and policies, all these things. But in the sense of, a lot of police departments are doing a lot of written trainings or questionnaires or things of this nature. And we both recognized that we wanted to be a scenario-based training company. There's no better way to learn than through scenarios, and then being able to break down those scenarios and go through. So I was an instructor when I was in law enforcement. I was also a field training officer. And so that was something that I utilized when I was training people, was saying, hey, we're going to do this, and we're going to break down the scenario before you ever get into this situation. because I did not like the idea of, hey, let's throw you in the fire and just see if you make it out. That's just not the way to do things anymore. That may have worked back in the day, but it's not how things work now. And so basically, to answer your question, I want, when my people go out and do what they're doing, when my teammates do what they're doing, I want them to feel confident in what they're doing, because a lot of use of force, a lot of these things that are happening, they're caused because the people weren't prepared for what they were put in. And trust me, there's some situations you're not going to be prepared for that. I totally get that. But I'm going to do my damnedest to get every single one of my team members ready for that moment when they need to be exceptional, not good, exceptional, because that's what we're being asked to do. And so that's what's important to us. We offer weekly training sessions for our people. Sometimes if we have some call outs or different things, we push that to bi-monthly, but we do a lot of legal training for our people. So my business partner will conduct legal seminars and different trainings. This is all open for any of our people. We even sometimes offer it to our clients. And again, the idea behind that is just having the best possible, most confident person going out there saying, I'm ready for whatever comes my way, because I've been there and I've done that, even if they haven't experienced that in the field.
Outstanding. Where do you see the industry of security going in the next 3 to 5 years here in Portland?
Oh man, that's such a good question. It's crazy. The industry has changed. Even in the past 6 months, the industry's changed. It's really, really making a unique shift right now. I think that some of the work that you're doing, some of the things that you're talking about, it's occurring as we speak. The days of the $15 an hour mouth breathing security guard are shortly coming to an end. I'm sure there's always going to be work for that. And it's an honorable profession. Not everybody's going to be in that same scenario, but I think overall we're going to be in a really good spot in the next year to 5 years, where most of the people who come to work for our companies or our company or work for us are going to be people who are expecting a profession. They're expecting good money. They're expecting benefits. They're expecting to not just show up and exist, but to actually make a difference and to change people's lives through being put in situations where they have to be exceptional. And so I think our industry's shifting faster than I could ever imagine, and it's going to continue.
So for anybody that's watching this show right now, what is your one important piece of advice for, say, a new officer or an entry-level guard? Like, what would you tell them is the most important thing for them to either focus on or remember?
Man, I don't think that I'm the guru, but since you asked me, I think there's two things: stay humble and stay after it. Stay humble and stay hard. Absolutely. When you show up, just learn and be hungry. If you're hungry in this industry, you're hungry to do better. You're hungry to be a better person. You're hungry to better your family. And then you couple that by humility, and having humility in every situation, whether you're dealing with the lowest of the low or you're dealing with the highest of the high, whether you've been there a day or you've been there 20 years, stay humble and just stay after it, man. And if you do those two things, you're going to be successful in this industry.
I love it. I love it. All right. So Reed, where can people get information on your company if they're looking to potentially hire you or work for your company? Do you guys have any socials? Do you have a website? How can people catch up with you guys?
Yeah, so we have a Facebook. It's Pacific Echelon, and then our website is www.pacificechelon.com. You can look us up online. We are ramping a new website starting September 1st. It's going to be pretty cool, but you can look us up through there and give us a call. There's all the numbers on there to get a hold of us. But yeah, we're hiring right now. We're looking for good people. So if you're interested, then give us a holler, because we're all about it.
All right, Reed, thank you so much for joining me, man. I appreciate it.
Same, man. Absolutely an honor.
Absolutely, man. Love what you guys are doing. Keep pushing, okay?
All right, man.
All right, be great.